So I'm fairly excited to be making this video today because I want to take you all the way back to when I first started my marketing agency and show you how I was actually able to make my first $10,000 online. So hopefully my story can give you some valuable insights that you can go ahead and implement into your own business, whether you are thinking of starting, whether you've already started, but you're just stuck about how to acquire your first client. Trust me, this video is going to run you through every single thing that I personally did in order to get my first client, and then after getting my first client to getting to my first $10,000 a month mark. So yeah, make sure to watch all the way to the end of the video. I'm going to be sharing my screen and running you over step by step of my entire journey. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. So you know the drill by now. This is going to be a Miro board type video. The reason why it's a Miro board type video is because I felt like this was the best way for me to be able to show you how I came about making my first $10,000 a month online. So I'll go over the backstory of how I started, what I did before starting my marketing agency, how I went about starting my agency, and then the problems that I had, the mistakes that I've made, the lessons I gained from those mistakes, and then also tell you a little bit about that one thing that I did that literally scaled me really, really quick. Literally in a matter of 3 months, I was making 10K per month with my agency. So yeah, make sure to watch all the way to the end because I'm gonna go all the way back. It was like 2.5 years ago now, almost 3 years now actually, to when I first basically got into the SMMA space. So yeah, this is gonna be super valuable if you are just starting out or if you are already started, but you're kind of clueless about how to go about signing clients or how to go about making 10K per month, then this video is going to be super, super useful for you. So yeah, let's get right into it. So what did I do before SMMA, right? So before SMMA, I've tried drop shipping. Obviously, I feel like this is the first business venture that everyone goes into. This is good in shop. I didn't really have a lot of experience with drop shipping. I just took a course, I think, and I've built up my website. I've sourced manufacturers for like different products, and then I've created this Instagram page. And yeah, I thought it was gonna go crazy. Like I thought this is it, right? This is how I make it, but obviously failed, as you can see with the 2 followers there. Then I got into trading, right? So forex trading, you know the drill with forex trading. I got into that. Uh, was doing pretty well, but it wasn't like it was getting me money that I felt like would basically sustain me comfortably. Like it would get me a couple $100s a month, but it wasn't anything crazy. And sometimes I would probably lose most of my money again and start back from zero. So trading, good, but only if you're like super experienced and you have a lot of cash to burn. After trading, I then went on to making a themed Instagram page because I wanted to sell shout outs, right? This is another business model. If you don't know about it, is basically creating Instagram theme pages, growing them to like 100, 200K followers, and then selling shout outs on that Instagram page. As you can see, I've made whatever I've learned from trading, I've kind of implemented into my posts, tried to make them on Canva. Yeah, I think I had about 40 followers on it. So yeah, failed again, didn't really make any money. So after this, I started my research into what other business models are out there that don't require too much upfront cash or investment, but are basically a viable vehicle for me to be able to make the amount of money that I wanted to make. So this is when I came across SMMA. I've watched a YouTube video. You probably know who he is. I'm not going to mention any names, but I've watched the YouTube video and I instantly got hooked into what the business model is. And this was actually the first time a business model was like I had in my mind like this is actually going to work if I put in the work and take the action to make it work, right? I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about, but you know when you have that feeling that something it just sounds right and it just sounds like it's going to work. So this was SMMA for me. As you can see here, this is my first proper website. This is my fourth iteration of the website. that I built for Say Media. And that was actually mistake number one. If we're starting with mistakes, that was actually mistake number one. And mistake number one was caring about my branding or my website. Keep in mind, it took me four iterations to come up with actually five iterations because I have a different website now. It took me five iterations to come up with my current website. And with websites, it takes me like 4 days, 5 days. So I literally spent close to 3 to 4 weeks just building up my website. Huge waste of time. If you are just starting out, you do not have to worry about building up a cool website, making it all optimized. It doesn't really matter. Just build a simple funnel with the VSL, with your offer up top and your calendar page. That's all you need. So what you need to do is build a VSL landing page, right? And VSL landing page, they're not crazy. It's literally your offer, your VSL, and your calendar, and some case studies if you have case studies. But you don't have to worry about building up a whole website. Like I literally tried to make it as professional as possible. So that was kind of the first mistake that I've done. And if I was to go back and kind of speak to myself, I would basically never do those iterations and just kind of build up a VSL page. It would have probably been more useful than my website. I literally do not use my website. So after setting up my website, I obviously set up everything else that I needed to set up by that point. I've hired a media buyer. I've interviewed a couple media buyers, and I remember I hired my first media buyer. I had my website set up, as you can tell with the five iterations. I've set up my Calendly, I've set up all the technical side of things, and I've set up my Lemlist campaign in order for me to start cold email outreach. Because back then, when I first started, it was either you do cold email outreach or it was like LinkedIn outreach, I think. That was like the two most popular options. So obviously, I started off with cold email outreach, made some sending accounts through like a course I bought, and I followed that course. And I was able to send 50 emails per day. But obviously, with my first ever campaigns, I had zero responses and obviously no bookings. I don't remember the exact metrics, but I remember I haven't got any responses through that. And I was sending out 50 emails. I would start my campaign for 3, 4 days or for a week, and then I would turn that off and I would try iterate it completely, change it into a whole different thing, which brings me to another mistake, right? Is changing things too quickly, right? So you gotta let an email campaign run for at least, let's say a week. No, let's say a week and a half. Depends how much you're sending, right? But you need to have a 500 sample size. So what I mean by that is you have had to contacted 500 people, right? So you have to wait until your campaign finishes sending to 500 people, including follow-ups, right? This is how you should test the campaign. But obviously back then, I really, really wanted appointments. So I wouldn't even let the campaign finish with all the leads that I've uploaded. And I would just change it into something completely different and test it again. And it was kind of irrational at some point of just changing email copies, changing lead lists, changing subject lines. I was kind of running in circles trying to figure it out. I also tried cold Instagram DM manually, and I would reach out to 25 to 50 people per day, which got me my first booking, but obviously I did not end up closing on that call. I remember it was a fitness app. I've had a conversation, like a 2, 3 day conversation with the guy before I went on to booking the call. But then just because I've worked with e-commerce brands or my agency was kind of lead more towards e-com brands, that brand that I booked a call with was an app, fitness app. So obviously I couldn't really do anything for them, but it was my first meeting. Um, So yeah, with cold Instagram DMs, booked one meeting. With cold emails, obviously booked zero meetings. The main mistake, if I was to go back and kind of see what I've done wrong, is iterating and being irrational with my testing. Basically, launching my campaign, changing it, launching again, changing, launching again, changing, and having no set structure about how I go about testing my campaigns. If I was to go back, I'll probably do things a lot more differently. So I then started consuming content on cold emails and I revamped my campaigns. And I started sending higher volumes and actually was able to book my first ever cold email meeting. Right. I still remember this meeting because this was the first ever meeting, first ever sales meeting I've had. Like I've never jumped, well, except this one, which wasn't really a sales call, so I wouldn't count it. This one was where I was actually actively trying to sell my offer. Like this was the first time ever. And it was very, very scary, right? It was very scary because I did not know how to sell, right? And then actually I found my old proposal for this call. Let me actually show it to you. So this was literally my first ever proposal, right? Like looking back at it now, it's crazy to see what type of proposals I was even making. Like, I don't even make proposals anymore. I just don't believe in them. But like back then, I would send this proposal after the call, and I could just imagine the ecom brand owner just getting that proposal, and they're like, "Damn, okay, just getting this." But yeah, moving on. First proposal. Obviously, I did not close the client because my sales absolutely sucked. Like I would literally hop on the call and I would talk most of the time. And if you're in sales, you probably know that the key to sales is asking questions and not talking and listening, right? I did the complete opposite of that. I literally just talk, 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 and I tried to convince them so hard that I am the guy for them and that my agency will be able to, get them whatever results they were looking for, right? Like I literally sat down in the call. I remember I had my media buyer on there as well. I asked maybe like two questions, and then the prospect asked me something about my agency, and then I went on to a 35-minute rant about how great my agency is or about how great of a service we can provide, which is a mistake, guys. If you are in sales or if you are jumping on your first ever sales calls, you got to focus on asking questions, right? Sorry, my whiteboard just lagged. But yeah, as I was saying, when you first get your first couple of sales calls, like your focus should be to ask questions, right? You do not need to sell your service on the first call, on the first discovery call. You don't need to try and sell your services. You don't need to try convince them how good you are. All you need to focus on is asking questions that would lead to them telling you about their problems, what they've tried in the past to fix those problems, why they can't fix those problems by themselves, and also what their goals are. That's literally all you need to find out in the first call. Then you're going to use that information and you're going to plan for the second call. And then on the second call is where you would say, okay, you've had this problem, so our services can provide a solution for that, right? So that would be my number one tip. If you guys are taking your first couple of sales calls, focus on asking questions rather than talking or trying to convince them how great you are or how great your service is, right? Now, after that call, it was a dry spell. I had no appointments coming in at all for the next 2, 3 months. I literally had no clue what I was doing. So, between that time, whilst I was in that dry spell and nothing was really going on, I was saving up money. I always save up money and I had my savings account, but I would save up more just to basically reinvest back into my business because that whole time during that dry spell, I kind of knew that I needed help. Like I needed someone to come in and show me how to build up a client acquisition system. Otherwise, I'm probably gonna quit in a couple of months because nothing else is working for me. So I've saved up and wanted to find someone who can teach me how to acquire clients, right? The reason why I wanted to basically pay my savings into having someone teaching me how to acquire clients is because I knew that if the person was right, that I would get a significant return on my investment. Because if I'm able to invest, let's say, $3,000 just for that person to teach me how to set up a client acquisition system and to show me how to do that, then if I really learn how to do that, then I'll be able to get as many clients as I want, right? Just makes sense. So this is exactly what I did. Because if I hadn't gone through that, or I haven't found my mentor, my first ever mentor, I would have probably taken a different path and started another business venture and would probably still be trying to figure out what my business model is or what business I want to run, right? So I hired my first ever mentor in January, February of 2022, right? This is literally him because he came in and he almost saved my business, right? So he taught me everything I needed to know about cold emails, literally everything, right? How to set up everything, the technical side of things, how to land in inboxes, how to write subject lines, how to write email copies, how to come up with offers, literally everything there is, I learned from him, right? And I've worked with him for like, I think like a month or a couple months, but throughout that time, I've gotten so much, I guess, knowledge that I never knew about before because you couldn't find that type of knowledge on YouTube or on the internet for free. So it was literally like a best way to explain it was literally like taking an energy drink or like a supplement that really literally boosts whatever you're trying to grow, right? So I got to work and I started basically setting up everything from scratch. I deleted Lemlist because Lemlist was apparently not really, you know, pro friendly. It was beginner friendly, but not pro friendly. So I've gotten rid of that account and basically reset up my structure, right? And the way cold emails work, right? Just to give you an idea, the way cold emails work is you have your offer, your copy, your subject line, your lead list, right? These factors are what's going to basically determine whether you book calls or not, or how many calls you can book, right? If you can keep iterating these four things until you are able to get at least a 0. Let's say 5% ABR, usually would go for 1%, but let's say 0.5 ABR, right? Out of, let's see here, out of 1,000 calls, or sorry, out of 1,000 cold emails, you'd be able to book in 5 appointments, right? From 1,000 cold emails, right? With a 0.5% ABR, right? And these four things are what basically influences your booking rate, right? Because if your offer is bad, if your copy is bad, if your subject line does not get them to open you or your email, your lead list is bad, then obviously you're not going to get any bookings coming in, right? So these four things is something you really need to focus on, right? And once you're able to get 5 appointments for every 1,000 cold emails that you send, if you then go and decide to scale up and send out 5,000 cold emails, maintaining this ABR, you will output 20 appointments, right? If you're able to get 5 appointments from 1,000 cold emails and then you increase the amount of cold emails you send, you'll be able to get 20 appointments from this, right? And then let's say your closing rate is probably like 10%, where, yeah, let's say like 10%. If your closing rate is 10%, out of those 20 calls, you'll be able to close 2 clients, right? And now you know that for every 5,000 emails that you send out, you will be able to close 2 clients, right? And this is how this system becomes very, very scalable and very, very predictable, right? But the hardest part is testing these things and finding out what works, right? Remember early on when I said like I had my first sort of lemless system and I would change everything frantically and I would never really have a proper testing process? Well, what I've learned is that you need a testing process. You need a step-by-step guide on how to go about testing these four things, right? And how to then iterate those four things in order to go get closer to your KPIs, right? So this is essentially what I've been able to set up for myself. And then 4 weeks later, once I've set up everything, I've launched, right? And the first month, I kid you not, that I launched the system, I was able to schedule 55 to 60 appointments in that first month, as you can see here on the screenshot. And then my sales journey, this was my first ever close near the end of March. I've closed a client for 2,100, 2,038 after Stripe fees, right? And then 3 months later, I was able to hit my first, you'd say 10K per month, right? I know it's 9.3K, but you get the point. 3 months later, I was able to make close to 10K per month with my agency, right? And this would not be possible if I didn't realize I had a problem. And by the way, I put this in here. This is my first ever business card that I've made. I still have like thousands of them. So if anyone wants them, let me know. But yeah, I don't know why I got business cards. Anyways, if I didn't realize I have a problem here, right? If these things didn't happen to me, I would not know I have a problem, right? So I'm glad these things happened to me, right? But if I didn't realize I hadn't have a problem, then I would never hire a mentor to teach me how to set up my client acquisition systems, right? But then once he taught me how to basically set up cold emails, how to test them, how to come up with copies, their offers, your subject lines, how to find your lead list, I was able to reset up my whole system. And once I'd launched, in that first month, I was able to schedule 55 to 60 appointments. Obviously, by that point, my sales was horrible. Like it was horrible. Like I remember, I think the fifth or the fourth appointment I had through this system, I basically, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna definitely close it, right? And then on that second closing call, I said something pretty stupid, I think, and the prospect was just fully put off of working with me. And I remember stressing a lot because I was like, damn, if I can't close these appointments that I'm getting right now, like I don't know what I'm gonna do, right? I need to close these appointments. I need to close at least one or two of these appointments per month, right? To make good enough money to be able to sustain myself. So with my sales journey, it wasn't anything crazy. I literally just started reading books. I started reading books, a lot of books actually. I literally, most of my bookshelf is literally just sales books. I started reading books and I've started practicing, right? Practicing speaking, practicing talking to a mirror, and practicing doing role play calls with my partner, my current partner at Amplify. Um, and yeah, and then I literally just jumped on these calls and tried to apply all the knowledge that I gained. And obviously, over time to where I am now, I can confidently say that I can close at about a 25 to 30% close rate. But obviously, it took some time. But my first or my fourth or fifth call through the system sucked. Like it literally, like the prospect literally looked at me like this, and then the call finished. Right? We kind of went our separate ways. So yeah, don't stress if your first couple calls go bad. That's totally normal, totally expected. But just try to improve, right? Just try to do something to improve, right? That's all I can tell you. So yeah, this got me my first ever close, and then 3 months later, I was able to get or hit close to 10K per month. And all of this is simply by learning how to set up these client acquisition systems, right? And then learning how to test these systems. So yeah, this has been my journey. Hopefully, I have been able to provide some value for you. If you have any questions, make sure to comment down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. And again, if you found value, make sure to subscribe. And hopefully, I'll see you guys on the next video. And by the way, I do have a free community. It should be down there somewhere below the comment section. Make sure to join that. We have a complete training of how to go from 0 to 10K per month. We already had a couple of students signing the first couple of clients through this training, so I know it definitely works. So you just make sure to click the link or find the link somewhere in the comment section down below. Make sure to join, and I'll see you on there.